The West is about to negotiate a surrender pact with Iran. Before a formal pronouncement, everyone participating in the Vienna nuclear discussions with Iran is dropping promos, which seem to indicate a return to an even weaker version of the original 2015 agreement, despite it being evident to everybody that going back in time to the previous deal isn't conceivable at this point. Robert Malley, despite warnings, appears to have persuaded global powers to agree to an extremely problematic deal that will allow Iran to acquire a nuclear weapon in the near future. Richard Nephew, one of the most senior members of the delegation, resigned over the extent of U.S. concessions to the Iranians' demands. Numerous important issues, including those raised by Israel on multiple times within the context of the forming pact, remain unresolved in the agreement, which will partly be based on the 2015 agreement. However, as U.S. Vice President Joe Biden stated would be included, there are no procedures in place to compel the Iranians to enter into further discussions over a longer-term, stronger agreement before the present agreement expires. Unless all parties agree on a specific plan for what will happen in the event that a new agreement cannot be achieved, a short-term agreement restricting Iran's nuclear program and based only on reciprocity that expires in a few months isn't worth the paper it's written on. The pact does not cover all of the ways in which a nuclear weapon may be developed, does not address the weaknesses that were found in the previous agreement, and does not even offer the international community the option to reimpose sanctions. IAEA's continuing investigations are the last source of disagreement that seems to be unaddressed in the current agreement. All these investigations were made feasible by the original deal's intrusive monitoring system as well as by Israel's disclosure of Iran's nuclear archives, which raised previously closed issues about the probable military elements of Iran's nuclear program. If the IAEA does not pay enough attention to this critical subject, its already inferior standing will be further tarnished and its very existence placed into doubt. The uranium inquiry looks to be nearing an end, and it's possible that the parties may also come up with a cunning solution to the other issues, or just give up on them. The late Yukiya Amano, former IAEA Director General, reacted to a question regarding the execution of Section T, the section of the original agreement that included monitoring activities connected to the development of weapons systems, in a way that bears recalling. According to his remarks, the Russians and Americans had agreed in advance that there was no purpose or capacity to implement this part, and the IAEA was similarly unable. There's a good chance that similar accords are in the works this time around as well. When the new arrangement is predicated on a return to full supervision, it would be ludicrous to say that the previous regime's conclusions would not be pursued and exhausted. Determination to intensify attacks against U.S. forces in Iraq and allies in the Persian Gulf region during current negotiations went unchallenged. Biden and his envoys seem to be unable to sign this agreement without informing American legislators and primarily the Iranians of its long-term ramifications. According to a scathing letter from 200 Republican members of Congress, the future Republican government would renege on the agreement and reimpose the sanctions now suspended. In order to convey a message to the rest of the world that continuing to business as usual with Iran is a risky proposition, this letter is being written.